Mental Health Mondays ignite the spark. Hope guides each step, even in the dark. New week, new dreams to see. Hope's the key to what's meant to be.
Hi, happy Monday, everyone. Welcome to Mental Health Mondays with Hope. That's me. I am Hope. If you are in NEPA, you are getting prepared for our first real snowfall, maybe of the season. So with snow comes those darker days. So it's a great topic that we're going to be discussing tonight with our good friend, Psych RN, Mr. Scott Reese. Ding dong. Hello, Scott. Come on in. Welcome, peekaboo.
What's up?
Hey, so I know that you've been on the show before before we do our positive affirmation, but you're also a weather guy. So we'll talk about that a little bit. But as we always start off with a positive affirmation, I am what, Scott?
I'm going to use a Jalen Hurts quote that I've seen recently. It's, I had a purpose before everybody had an opinion. You know, your worth comes from internal. It's intrinsic.
That's
it's not
great.
External. People's opinions on that.
You're right. That's great. I love it. I love it. That's great. We are the PA Empowerment Network. You know that. We were talking earlier. This is a podcast, but we are digital radio. So please like and subscribe to the PA Empowerment Network. And you can catch all the different podcasts that are on our network. We talked just a bit earlier that you are a weather guru.
Yep.
So if we're in NEPA, so what are we supposed to get?
It's going to
Run out for the milk and bread?
It's going to really depend on how far north or how far south you are. I think anybody that's like Monroe County, further south in Monroe County, the Lehigh Valley, it's going to be slushy. I mean, 1 to 3, 2 to 4, but then probably slush to maybe even rain. If you're in the Poconos, Poconos should be a good 4 to 8. 3 to 6, 4 to 8, something depending on where you live. Probably 3 to 6 would be about normal, but if you're living the highest elevations, maybe a little bit more.
Okay. But it's going to be slushy and icky.
The problem, it's another storm coming from the south. It's early in the year. It's not hot yet, or it's not cold yet. It's still pretty warm. So unfortunately, there's going to be mixing issues down south. But the farther north you are, the better off. So the northern Poconos are going to be the best. If you live in Philadelphia, sorry, it's not going to be good. Probably just rain.
Oh, bummer.
Yeah.
So that it's kind of a good intro to our topic tonight. We're going to talk about seasonal affect disorder. And, that's something that happens, this time of the year a lot. What can you give us a definition of what seasonal affect disorder or what's commonly known as SAD, what that is exactly?
So seasonal affective disorder is pretty for most people. You're when the days change from being longer to being shorter, and they change significantly. By the way, you go from a 15-hour day in the summer, which is crazy, 15 hours of sunlight, to in the winter you're down to 9 hours of sunlight. It's a 6-hour difference. So you lose 3 hours per season, for including daily savings time. So that's pretty significant. Your melatonin levels in your body change and your serotonin levels change. The big reason is because of the lack of sunlight, but there's other factors too. But lack of sunlight does two different things. It dysregulates your internal clock that normally would have a sleep cycle that is mapped out around the sun, because ultimately we're not nocturnal. Even for us night shifters, we're not truly nocturnal creatures. So your melatonin levels being dysregulated will disrupt your sleep, and your serotonin levels being dysregulated will disrupt your mood, causing you to feel depressed, agitated, anxious, just generally you don't feel healthy, and you're not as healthy, especially when you live in areas of higher latitude where, like for us, we experience the 9-hour or the 6-hour disruption. If you live up in the Arctic, it's not just the Arctic too. People think that, you have to be above the Arctic Circle. Oh no, like you can live in southern Alaska, you can live in Northern Ireland, you can live in places like that where your days are going to be significantly shorter to almost nothing. But on top of that, the sun angle isn't as high in the sky too. In the summer, you're used to it going directly over your head for the whole day. The sun angle is lower, which is why people tend to get sunburned less also in the winter or in the spring. Doesn't mean you can't get sunburned. It just means the sun angle is lower, so it's not beating down your head. But all of these things cause major dysregulations. Also, you're getting less vitamin D, which vitamin D can also contribute to mood and make you feel kind of glum and gloomy,
Right.
which is why a lot of people take it as a supplement.
Right. And I found my vitamin D is low a lot of the time. So I make sure that I take vitamin D. And as females, a lot of times we're typically tend to be low in vitamin D, but so do males as well. Is that correct?
I mean, yeah, they start adding it to milk for a reason. Like, not everyone lives in the equator. So, I mean, if you live anywhere that you experience an actual disruption in the length of the day, that's why they fortify milk, because they figure get you started when you're a kid and people will drink milk for the rest of their life. And milk has vitamin D fortified in it. So,
Right. And now, you get to a certain age, you become lactose intolerant and you don't drink milk anymore. So you need to take your vitamin D. Listen
correct.
up, people.
Not everyone eats their leafy vegetables either. So you're not getting that, as often. And a lot of people don't take supplements in general. They don't understand why they don't feel well. But as you got to factor in those things. Like, that's a lot of people don't get out in the sun either.
Right.
We're a very sedentary society.
Right. And think about our kids these days. I remember being a kid outside all summer long, even in the winter outside. And now the kids are here, on their computers. You can drive around in the summertime, you see all these empty pools and nobody's out in them.
And they've proven that kids are more depressed now than they were. People in general, but kids, adults are more depressed now than they were 30 or 40 years ago. There's a direct correlation between going outside, as you said, and being in the house all the time. You're not getting that. You're not exposed to sunlight.
Right.
People they do. I mean, a lot of people. The curtains are a big thing now. People are very big on their privacy. So natural sunlight is not a thing that we experience like our ancestors did, for sure. And we do see that in depression and anxiety.
Right. And like you said, not everybody takes supplements. And I know not everyone realizes that when you have your physical or what have you, you can ask to have your vitamin D tested. It's not something that they naturally will just commonly do. I mean, not commonly do, but you can ask for that even at other times of the year, if you're kind of not feeling up to par.
Here's another one too. And this is something that I don't know that people know, but it's very interesting, especially as we become more enlightened, more woke, if you will, but more enlightened to the idea of people on the spectrum and stuff. People that have neurodivergent conditions are like 60 to 80% more likely to suffer from seasonal affective disorder than somebody who doesn't have that. So when we say neurodivergent, I know that's kind of a hot button issue. Everyone's like, oh, I'm neurodivergent. That probably not everyone's neurodivergent, but simply meaning that you're either on the spectrum in some way, shape, or form, in some aspect, or you suffer from ADHD, OCD, any of these things. If you are in any way neurodivergent, you have any kind of those regulation disorders or dysregulation disorders, you are much more likely to suffer from seasonal depression than somebody who doesn't have it. Another reason why people that don't have, or that maybe aren't very educated or informed, don't really understand why people get that way in certain times of year.
Right.
It's not all in your head, though.
Right. So what is the reason that people who are neurodivergent would be more susceptible to this?
Most likely it's the dysregulation. So like an autistic person, as most of us know, if you have a kid who's autistic like I do, or someone else that or love that you cared for, that they need structure. They need to eat at the same time. They need to have a system in place that they can understand, that they can recognize. And I know as a kid, whenever I started suffering from it, I never could understand it. I couldn't really put my finger on what was different. I knew it had something to do with the fact that, well, I used to play outside until 7 or 8 o'clock at night, and now I play outside till 5 or 6 at night, or even earlier in the winter, because it gets so much darker. And you don't want to be outside, or you're not allowed to be outside. So I was able to tell real early that I had something going on. Couldn't quite figure out what it was. However, and I talked to you about this a little bit about reverse seasonal affective disorder. I also suffer from that. It's less common. It's still something people suffer from. But this probably falls right in line with what you're saying because of being neurodivergent. I'm neurodivergent. I suffer from OCD and ADHD. I will fall into that pattern in the winter where I get used to it after 3 months. So I'm used to it being dark now. Now I've kind of come around to it a little bit more. I've accepted this is the routine. It's going to be darker earlier. It's not, the sun's going to come up later in the morning. So I get used to that. And then all of a sudden the days start to get longer. And then you're like, oh, damn, what's happening now? Now my former pattern now has been disrupted even, again. And this continues every 6 months throughout the year.
Yeah, I want to get a little more into that a little bit with the reverse.
Yep.
Because you educated me on that. I just want to go back, and this is a little bit of a sidebar. Yeah. I went to a track training to be a certified track coach eons ago, and I met the author. He was one of the speakers who wrote the Bible for coaching youth track. And one of the things that he had stated, which at the time, again, we're talking eons ago, that really caught my attention is at that time, we were seeing more of an incidence of asthma with kids. And again, think about that inside, where the kids are constantly inside now versus being outside. But it was the fact that when we were kids, we were outside screaming, yelling, running, playing, laughing. And the kids that are not outside doing that are not expanding their lungs to the full capacity while their lungs are still developing. Therefore they can tend to be more prone to asthma. And I found that very interesting. Which is just a tie into the things that you're saying is that if we're not understanding, if we're not woke to this, and this is just nutrition and health, then, we're kind of setting our children up for this. It's a big thing in society right now. Sure. No, there's so much more depression with kids and there's, this and that. And it was all because of COVID and being, locked up in the house and what have you. But there's no correlation being made with like the nutrition and the everything that's in our body that needs to be replenished by the sun, by play, by activity. And it's doing shows like this. I mean, I'm like glued to the screen, just listening to you talk about all of this. What's some advice for parents?
I mean, ultimately, so some people really like the salt rock. Some people really like they make the lights that you can actually, this is really, really big. If you live in like Alaska, for example, they have rooms that are specifically designed to mimic artificial sunlight. That can be a little more complicated solution possibly. But one of the big things is stimulating endorphins. That really seems to help serotonin balancing. And the best way you're going to do that is exercising for the most part, but doing things that make you feel good in general. But I say exercise because it's something everyone can do at home. They can do it if you can't afford a gym. If you live near Planet Fitness, you can afford it. Likely you can afford a gym. If your kids are in school, they may have access to the gym for free. So that's a real big thing. Doing something to get your serotonin levels up that doesn't involve messing with your dopamine receptors, playing on a phone all day, because unfortunately, that can give you a cheap zap of dopamine. It could temporarily increase your serotonin, but overall it's a net loss because you're not doing something active. You're not doing something outside. It's hard to say, okay, we'll make your kids go outside whenever it's cold. That's probably not a realistic option for a lot of parents this time of year, but getting your kids to participate in things, being active yourself in things, that will help an awful lot. But I mean, ultimately getting outside isn't bad for anybody, to be totally honest. People don't realize, back to what you said, like circling back a little bit, we're kind of trained to think that like outside is where all the allergens are. Outside is where the environment is, the air quality is poor. I mean, if you live in a city, okay, it's more poor than living rural, but you don't realize that being indoors is way worse. It's way worse, significantly worse. You're inside. A lot of people don't dust. I'm one of them. A lot of people tend to not dust. whenever they clean. You don't think about it. People, when they vacuum their carpets, you're literally lifting dust back up into the environment that you're living in. Some people, not all, very, but some people still smoke inside. So some homes are still very smoky inside. The air quality stagnates in your house. People don't change their air filters if they have central air or central heat. So you're living in a place that's going to be significantly higher with allergens than it will be outside. Also, pet dander, another thing that people don't really consider. You have all types. Dust creates mites. You have mites in the air. There's a lot of negative about cooping yourself up all the time.
Right. And you're talking about exercise. I maybe we get some young people to comment on this. I don't think the kids have gym class as often as I did when I was young.
I don't think so.
So they're not even
required
getting
every
that
semester. I think when we were in school, I thought it was.
Say it again.
I think it was required either every semester or 2 times a year. I forget, but it was often.
Right. Yeah. So that's another thing where we're failing our kids is taking that time away. Recess, what are they doing? Or hopefully, if it's cold out, they're going into the gym and playing kickball or something like that. Plus it's actually, it's good because of the serotonin, like you said, it's good for the brain to take that break, during the day and just let all the academics leave your head for a little bit.
People also don't go on vacation in the winter very often. That's another good example because, by not going on, by not taking those trips, those things that help reset you a little bit, that help kind of, pump you up a little bit I don't know how you feel about it, but I know when I'm going on vacation, I'm kind of psyched about it for a few weeks or longer. And then, you go on, you have fun and you're kind of talking about it afterwards for a while. It like temporarily boosts you and it gets you to the next time you're going to do something that's not your normal life.
Right. And that reminded me of a friend of mine who has SAD is great through the holidays. And then after the holidays, it's just a nosedive. It's really a nosedive.
Yeah, the holidays. I was actually just talking recently. I was talking with somebody about the holidays. That they said that there's someone that believes the perfect time for the holidays are January, because then you would ride through the cold months that everyone hates so much, and you'd have something forward to. So if you had Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, or whatever that happened in January, February, March, as opposed to October, November, December, then that would help a lot of people out. I know for me that would I don't think that would work because these things are generally you're kind of used to them being at a certain time of year.
Right.
I don't know how you treat in January that. I don't know that could even have a possibility of working, but it was an interesting idea that maybe different times of the year could, because I know for me the holidays carry me through any SAD I might have. I don't notice it yet. I don't feel that. I feel the dysregulation a little bit, but I don't feel depressed or anything because you're always leading up to that, to that Christmas holiday. I'm a holiday super fan. I love them. Even, as I get older, I get a little lazier and I don't want to decorate as much, but I'm really pumped up by the idea because people act more friendly. They act more hopeful. There's more there's a cheer in the air, I guess you could say. I know a lot of it's corporate commercialism, but but people are generally looking forward to something. There's nobody looking forward to anything in January and February except for spring. And that's a long way away. If you don't like the winter, winter as climate change progresses, winter comes later every year, or on average, winter has been coming later and lasting longer into the spring. That's kind of the trade-off there. It's pushing into March and April. And we had snow in May a couple times in the past 10 years. We never had that before.
Right.
So now you're dealing with, it doesn't get super cold in September, October, November anymore. This year it was cold for Thanksgiving and everyone's kind of like, wow, why is it so cold? Well, it's not that it's all that cold. It's closer to normal.
Right. We just weren't used to it anymore. Right. And I feel that, we had a dusting of snow the other day, and then we're supposed to get snow tomorrow morning. And then I heard something else for Saturday. Is that accurate?
Yeah, there's an active storm track right now. There's gonna be a lot of opportunities in the next few weeks, and it's cooler than average this time of year. And we might be entering a much cooler than average pattern if this locks in. So it's always hard to judge these things too early, but you can see the basic pattern. And when things start to look like this at this time of year, and you can see it repeating itself a couple times, and we're seeing that this is the second burst of cold air we've had already. This could be the start of a pattern where we just get continual shots of cold air. And with shots of cold air, you have chances for snow. The last couple of years, we haven't had those opportunities that often because it hasn't been cold enough.
Right. Right. Yeah. And talking about the holidays, that Christmas morning snow, just like the movies. So, hopefully we have that to look forward to this year.
In an area where it happens a lot more rare than people think. It's in our backyard, it's like 15% chance. So it happens once every 6 years or so, 7 years.
Wow.
Or so. It's not as common as people think. And people look back, it wasn't really as common back in the day either, just for people, so people don't think this is like crazy. It wasn't really a common thing back when the songs were written either, which is kind of why there was always that that excitement about it. So,
right. Darn those Hallmark movies.
I remember back in 2002, the diamond companies lost their if it snows more than 6 inches on Christmas or whatever, then you get the diamond for free, because it happened that year and you never saw that sale again.
Oopsie. A lot of happy people that year.
Funny enough, it's the only time it's happened since then, but
wow. So back to seasonal affective disorder.
Yep.
What are things that people can look for? Like you and I had talked about it previously, where, I played basketball and, I was always busy throughout the winter. And so I never recognized anything. And then, I coach basketball now. And I tell people that if I didn't coach basketball, I would come home from work and just be in my pajamas and wouldn't leave the house. What can people look for?
That's kind of it. Yeah. Like, you'll notice a change in your kids and your friends and your family when they don't want to go out and do anything, when they don't have that ambition to go for the morning walk they usually go for most of the year. When, I can always tell that my kids are definitely feeling it a bit because they don't want to do anything else. Like, it's like, I just want to sit around all day. Well, what do you mean? You always want to do something. Like, you're always going somewhere. So when you see people start to act differently, in women, this is not something that I would know about or that I could, talk about to any great extent, but it can change. It can trigger hormonal changes. Women that suffer from seasonal affective disorder, and which could do things like late menstrual cycles or dysregulated menstrual cycles, or women that suffer from PMDD and stuff like that, things like that. And that's not, that's completely environmental in that in the aspect that it's affecting maybe a normal disorder, but it's something that gets like amplified more and more because of the season. So that's
Right.
another one that you don't think of as often. And obviously women's health doesn't get nearly the attention that men's health get. So
Absolutely.
for guys,
yeah. I'm sorry. Could that also be a lack of vitamin D?
It could be. Yeah. I mean, it causes both things. Both things are caused by the vitamin D deficiency, but having the seasonal affective disorder definitely worsens things like women's menstrual cycles, their regularity, things like that. So, I mean, again, like I said, you don't hear many people talking about it. It's, you just have this or you just have that. But no, like the seasons can affect this a whole hell of a lot.
Wow. That's something I never thought about. Okay, ladies. We're going to call you Dr. Scott.
Something else to blame on the weather. The weather, though. I mean, the weather.
Darn that weather.
Well, that's another thing too. And that's a good correlation between weather and mental health. Another thing that's more common in the winter as opposed to the summer is clouds. It's cloudier in the winter than it is in the summer. It tends to be cloudier. You have less, and that's a combination of reasons. One is atmospheric. So the atmosphere in the summer, the general atmosphere, the jet stream is usually ridging in the east, which leads to warmer air flowing up from the Gulf. So you have a warmer environment typically speaking, at least in the United States, during the summer months. During the winter months, you have stormier. The jet stream is wavy. So you have stormier time. So there's more clouds. There tends to be more clouds. That's the atmospheric part of it there. But then you also have the lack of available sunlight hours. So if you have those 15 hours of possible sunlight during the summer day, then if it's cloudy for 5 hours a day, you still have 66% of your day is still sunny. But in the winter, if it's cloudy for 5 hours of the day, that's more than half of your day. That's
Right.
a good portion of your day. So your opportunity to see sun is significantly lower because you have less possible sunlight hours to work with.
Wow. Yeah. So not only is there a, I don't know if you would be physiological, biological, but then there's also an emotional, mental, component, because, I look out in the morning and I see that gray. Now it's interesting though, because there's a different kind of gray. The sky is a different kind of gray right before it snows.
100%. Yes, definitely.
So when I see that sky, that actually is exciting.
It's almost like a reddish gray before snow.
Right. When
The way
you
it
see that,
refracts, yeah.
and it's like, oh, it's going to snow. And you walk outside and I'm sorry, I don't know if, whatever, it's because I'm a country girl, whatever, but there's a different smell in the air when it's going to snow. And, so it can be gray and icky, but it's when you sense that snow, for me, and I don't like the cold anymore. The older I get, the cold, I mean, I'm all bundled up. I'll still go out, but, I don't like the cold as much anymore, but I get excited when it smells and looks like snow. But then the rest of the time with that gray skies, again, it's that same thing. It's like, I don't want to do anything. I have less enthusiasm about doing the things that I have to do.
Yeah, I remember I saw a show recently. It was weather related, but I saw a show recently that talked about 9/11 and how the skies were real blue, and everyone associates the blue skies with 9/11. And I was kind of interested, like, okay, that is one of those days that I remember being super blue and being, but environmentally speaking, your best month atmospherically is going to be in September, because it's a changeover from hot, hazy weather to the brisker air. So it kind of like whitewashes the atmosphere a little bit. So you do have clearer skies in September. It's a very clear month. September, even early October, it's a very clear month. You tend to have those crisp, clear, cloudless nights, cloudless days. And then you get into that stormier pattern, like I talked about, into the winter pattern. And then as you go into spring, it usually rains most of the time. So, but you hit something that I was I'm trying to double back in my mind, that you were just talking about something. Oh, that's another thing too, that people don't really realize about themselves or about others, that we don't have that necessarily that innate ability to look ahead 3 months and say, well, you know what, in 3 months it's going to be nice again. You tend to look at the moment now. It's like, oh my God, it's December 1st tomorrow, right? Or today. It's December 1st today. We have to go through all of this shit. Like, we have to go through this whole, pardon my language. We have to go through all of this like nonsense for the next 3 months. Like, this is going to be horrible. It's going to be a long, cold winter. I'm not going to get anything done. I can't clean my garage. I can't, like, people tend to like catastrophize a little bit. Like it's always going to be this way now. Like because in your perspective, the next 3 months is the next 3 years. It's
right.
We don't have that ability to look at it and be like, it's only 3 months and things are going to get better. It's like we're living in this perpetual hellstorm here, and we have to get through it.
Right. That's a great takeaway. If nothing else gets taken away from this, which I hope a lot gets taken away, and that people rewatch this on the PA Empowerment Network, because it is up there on the YouTube channel, because you're giving a lot of great information. But if there's one thing that can be taken away from this, is to be able to look 3 months ahead. I mean, when I started with the women's running group, I remember I was like dog tired, and they're like, come on, you could do anything for 30 seconds. And then I got into that mentality, and then it was like, you could do anything for a minute, and then you could do anything for 10 minutes. And it's like, so if we all got into that, Come on, you can do this for 3 months. It's the same people that complain about the heat in the summertime that complain about the snow in the wintertime. It makes sense because they're not seeing it as this is just a small moment in time.
We don't live in the present very much. It's the reason people talk about, about being present and awareness and mindfulness. That's the word I was looking for. Mindfulness. Like, it's not something that we do well. People live in the past a lot. Things are so much better 5 years ago. Things are so much better when I was growing up. Like, that's a big one. Or, things are so much better last year, or like when I was a kid. Like, and then there's the, nothing's ever going to get better. Like, it's, we have a hard time being present ever because we're always looking at what good happened in the past, because we tend to, as we get older, we tend to remember good memories. This is absent of people with trauma. People with trauma tend to hold on to things, but people tend to, in general, bring up good memories of their past, and they tend to have a pretty negative outlook about the future because obviously you're getting older. You're not going to be able to do the things that you once did. Right. You're going to lose faculty, and you're going to lose, a lot of these, these core memories were not necessarily as good as you thought they were.
Right.
Or you associated them with being so wonderful because right now you're not thrilled about the way your life has gone or the way things are currently going, or that you have to go into this winter, or that you have to deal with shoveling snow or driving in the snow. And a lot of people are very anxious about that, or very anxious about like just the idea of a storm. Like, I have to work though. I can't enjoy the snow anymore. Like when I was a kid, I could enjoy this. That's another big one too. Like, kids suffer from it, sure, but it's definitely adult centered more. Like, it's worse for teenagers and adults and stuff, because you don't have that ability to say, well, you know what? If it snows, and this was me as a kid, if it snowed outside, I want to be out there doing stuff in the snow.
Right.
Let's get a sled. Let's go out. Let's build snowman. Let's have snowball. Let's play a football game. Nothing was better than a football game as a teenager in the snow.
Right.
When you could literally tackle your friends and stuff on the street because it was covered by a blanket of snow and you weren't going to get hurt.
Right.
As an adult, you don't get that privilege. You don't get that ability to smile and enjoy it. You have to drive to work. Well, what happens driving to work? Somebody might, you might get into an accident, but somebody else might get into an accident and then cause you to be late. There's a million different reasons why the winter season makes people sad, on top of just the environmental conditions, because that there's all this bad things that can happen, and you're not only like knowing this, you're kind of like harping on it in your brain. You associate the snow with, oh no, like this
right
my life.
Right. We have to remember the fun aspects of snow. Hey, Scott, we're going to take a quick break. Everyone, we're going to take a quick break. And then when we come back, I want to talk about reverse seasonal affective disorder. All right. And there he was, Q. We'd like to say thank you to Q from the Cigar Lounge, one of our sponsors here at the PA Empowerment Network. My name is Hope. This is Mental Health Mondays with Hope, and our guest, or my guest, I would say our, because, my wonderful producer is always in the room. So is that little angel or demon on my shoulder. But Scott Reese, who is an RN, a psych nurse, and we're talking about seasonal affective disorder tonight. But now we're going to talk about something, go a little bit more in depth, that's something that Scott brought to my attention that I was unaware of, and it's reverse seasonal affective disorder. And I have to, before you get into this, I have to say that I have a friend. All right, he's my tattoo guy. His name is Mike. Sorry. Can we do that? Funhouse tattooing. I didn't say that. He loves winter. He's a skier, loves winter. And when it's hot out in the summer, like he's not a happy camper.
Nope.
So he loves the winter. And now I'm just wondering, I might have to, like talk with him a little. Is that just because of his love of the snow, or is that reverse seasonal affective disorder? Go ahead and educate us.
So yeah, there's a lot of this is I suffer from this way more than I suffer from the traditional seasonal affective disorder. What tends to happen in the winter is, as the winter goes on, we sleep a lot. We get more sleep than we would normally get. This ties in with depression a little bit as well, but even for someone that's not suffering from clinical depression, you sleep more, you eat more, and in some cases, some people are more active because you can do things without sweating your brains out. Like you can actually get things done by the sun actually rising earlier in the day, by the fact that the day gets longer. Some people suffer from insomnia. I know I do. You suffer from insomnia because there's less time to sleep. There's less hours possible to sleep. There's less darkness in order to sleep with, because again, most people, your body produces melatonin at the highest levels when it first gets dark, which is the reason why melatonin doesn't work, by the way. If you work night shift and you want to take it during the day to sleep, it won't work. Your natural levels are not high enough for the melatonin that you take in the bottle to raise your levels high enough. And it doesn't matter how much you take. It's not one of those medications where you can just take more. After 15 milligrams of melatonin, it's not effective. It just won't do anything. It won't hurt you. It won't help you. It won't do anything. You're just wasting it.
Right. Good to know.
So yeah, those people, and then there's also the realization that you have gained weight, like most people do, most animals do, over the winter, because you're storing energy. So then weight loss becomes a problem as you start to move into a season where you're eating less. You're going to be more active. Like a lot of people become more active. So this becomes a big issue for people. And another big thing for a lot of people is, like you said, you get used to. I'm more comfortable whenever I can do things without exerting higher caloric content. Like if you're doing an activity in the winter, and I'm not talking shoveling snow, I'm talking like going from here to there, cleaning your house, like normal activities. Doing that activity when it's 100 degrees out or 80 degrees out is going to be a whole lot different on your body. It's demanding more from you. Your body conserves calories when you're talking about cold weather being more prevalent. So the fact of the matter is, it causes agitation for a lot of people, because now your simple daily demands are 30 or 40% higher or more whenever it's warmer out than when it's colder out. So you literally need to exert more energy as you move into the spring. Not everyone is well adjusted to doing that. I will say, once you get into that, people are pretty good. You kind of condition yourself and you regulate a little bit once you get into, May or June. But then there's a lot of people that psychologically just do not like summer. I'm one of those people. I just don't like it. When it comes to, I can live in cool weather. I don't get hot like that, but I don't like the excessive amount of heat. I don't like how exhausting it is. I don't like how much more of a demand it is on your body. And as I get older, I'm the opposite of you. I get worse. I greatly prefer winter. I'm more active. I'm more productive. I do more things. I go more places in the winter than I do in the summer.
I like the extreme heat minus the humidity.
I wouldn't know what that feels like.
I could do
my whole life, and I've gone to Florida in the South. I've never been out west, so I wouldn't even know what it's like to be hot and dry.
I can do the heat, but it's the humidity because again, for me, it's more the joints of my body than my entire body, and the humidity, whether it's in the winter or the summer, is what affects my joints. But if
I'm with you there, I have that problem too. I do, because I played sports all my life. So, and you were an athlete as well. So anyone that's been an athlete in their life, like you need your joints a lot. It is hard getting older. Arthritis is a real thing. Bone on bone is a real thing.
Yeah, right. But you're right. I mean, I've run in 100-degree weather just to say I've done it. And once you get going and you're running in that, as long as you're hydrated properly, and people think, they just drink, before and after, but hydration is something that's a constant. It really wasn't that bad. And I've also run in like below zero or around zero weather, again, just to say I've done it.
Yeah.
That one was worse because it was so cold. I mean, I wear cold weather gear, but my phone got cold, and that's what I use for my app, my running app. So my phone got cold and the battery died. But you're right. What you're saying is, yeah, I've run in those temperatures just because I can, which isn't always the best reason.
I've done both.
Just
I will say that the air is it's harder on your lungs for sure in the winter when it's cold when you're running. It's harder on your heart, cardiovascular system when you're in the summer.
right. But looking at doing, because I do lots of I do all my own yard work. 70 degrees is like the optimal temperature for doing that yard work, because it's like you said, it's not too taxing on your body. If I'm out, anything hotter, you're right. I mean, it makes a lot of sense, but I still love summer. But we had a conversation that, fall is definitely still my favorite time of the year.
Most people, it's the most popular favorite season.
It's just everything about fall. And maybe that's good for me personally, that I like fall so much, because I enjoy fall so much that going into winter isn't that bad. And then, I mean, I coach basketball, but this year I'm not coaching, so we're going to see what happens. And then, we start to get close to March, so you get toward the end of winter, and then it gets worse, I feel, for seasonal affective disorder. For reverse,
my year starts to go downhill in January. So like, because my favorite month of the year, my favorite, what do you call my cats after my stuff? My favorite season of the year is fall. So like everything peaks for me in September and October, and then it just starts. That's the best time of the year. Then you get through the holidays, which are good. January, February is still okay, but you're coming down off that hill a little bit. Once you get into like March, you're holding on to the last shred of like decent weather, decently like cool weather. And by the time you're in April and May, it could be 90 degrees in May now, like, so, you start to get to that point where you're like, now I really have to battle through all of this weather that I don't particularly like, knowing full well that I'm not going to get out as much as I did before. I'm not going to be as active as I was before. It's definitely difficult. And that's also, that's emotionally hard too, because you're dealing with the oh man of it.
Right. So, I mean, would you say, now you said that people who are neurodivergent, would they tend to also have reverse seasonal affective disorder?
They would, but it's not as common in general. So it wouldn't be as common in both groups. So in your non-autistic neurodivergent group and versus in your general population, it's generally way less popular. It's probably more like 5 to 10% of the population, whereas it's more like 15%. So you're probably about 3 times as likely to suffer from SAD across the board. And it's pretty much, I believe, I've never studied a comparative study on both, but it was probably the same for both conditions, for both general population and neurodivergent. It's just, it's just not as common. People tend to like brighter, longer days more than they like shorter, darker days, but that's really not everybody. It's not 100%. Like I said, for somebody like me, I can, it's easier to structure your day around having more time that you feel that you can be productive. Whereas in the summer, for example, if I'm going to do something like you said, yard work, for example, good example. If I'm going to do yard work in the summer, I'm going to do it in the evening.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a little bit cooler. The sun angle is less intense. It's not going to be as miserable. Well, that comes with a caveat, though, because what happens in the summer around 5 o'clock every day, you have a chance for thunderstorms.
Right.
So once that happens, that could totally dismantle your plans of doing things that day. So you have to consider that you don't have the same availability to get things done, because you're losing that time that you would be more comfortable doing it. So yeah, the reverse SAD is tough, and it's not really something that's well known. People don't talk about it very much. I didn't really know it was a thing until I learned a little more about SAD, and kind of finding out that like this is something that other people deal with. And people really, there's a lot, running this weather page is very informative as well, because you see the people that absolutely love the winter, that absolutely hate the winter, and they're very divided. I mean, like, as divisive as politics, it's unbelievable how different the two camps are. So when you see that, it's not hard to understand that people that really love snow, they really look forward to a good heavy snow, that really want to see a blizzard. Like it's kind of a philia a little bit in a sense, where like some people just want I love the complete shuts down everything.
I love that too.
It's so nice to see that, because nothing in the summer does that for us. Like nothing shuts stuff down. But in the winter, it can just, and it forces everybody to slow down a little bit. It forces everybody to take a look around and kind of like live in that moment a little bit. I know it pisses people off too, but it forces you to do that.
Right.
But once those opportunities start to go away, you're not going to see snowflakes for the next 6 or 8 months. And that can be very hard on people who really love it and really enjoy and really look forward to it. It's kind of like a reality show or a fantasy sport type thing where, people look ahead, because you can look at computer models nowadays and you can look ahead and be like, oh man, there's so many chances coming up here. Like, and the models will show you this big storm. And then you get excited about it. You're like, oh yeah, this is going to be great. I can't wait. And people start imagining, what could happen. And then as you get later on in the year, those chances start to go away, and that causes people to be depressed. And, it snows, if you like the cold and you like the snow, that's not something you can just readily expose yourself to. If you live in it, like, you'd have to go very, very, very far away to experience winter, like the other hemisphere. You're not going to be able to just, take a drive to a mountain and, hey, it's snowing here. This is cool. I can kind of quench that a little bit. I can, you don't have that ability. Where I would argue you have that ability for people that are summer people. You can just drive 20 minutes up the road from my house and you're at Kalahari, or 20 minutes up the road and you're at Camelback has an indoor water park. You can go there and swim like you would in the summer. You can experience that summer environment. And you can't do that if you suffer reverse seasonal affective disorder and you really want, there's nothing I like better to clear my head. Here's a really good like psych kind of example. You ever get kind of overwhelmed and you're dealing with a lot of anxiety and you just need to walk outside and have cold air in your face? You can't do that very well when it's hot out, like at all. There's nowhere to go. And if you're feeling like you're crawling out of your skin, you're very restless, you don't get, you can take a cold shower, sure, but that's generally not very enjoyable. I don't know anybody that really likes cold showers. Like, you could do that to shock your system, but it's kind of too much. It's a little overwhelming, I think. Even jumping in a pool is kind of like, it gives me anxiety because I know it's going to be super cold for a couple seconds.
Right.
That like short period of inconvenience is like, do I really want to do that? But it's so hot, but I don't want.
Well, it's different too, because that's your whole body versus like when you walk outside, it's just on your face. Like for me, like in the fall, I love on a cool night sleeping with the window open and being snugly under a blanket.
Look at how many people
feeling that cool air on my face.
Perfect example. Look how many people put a fan in their room and they have to sleep in front of it. Now, I see this a lot because I work in a rehab where these people have to sleep in rooms with other people, and it's a little bit inconvenient, but you'll see it all the time. Like, these people are like, where's my fan? I need a fan. Like, you got to get me a fan. I can't do this without a fan. I need the air blowing on me. People need that to reset a little bit to like feel regulated. And, you don't always have that option.
And that's interesting because, I never looked at it in that aspect. Like, I've always kind of thought it was just the sound of the fan, but it's the actual cool air as well.
For sure. The sound is good. Like, that does help. It helps me a little bit, but I need that air on me. I need to feel, because if I'm going to bundle up, I can't bundle up if I'm not cold. I need something to make the air move, make it a little cooler on my skin so I can feel that comfort by bundling up. Opening the window is a good example though too. If you open that window and get that cold air, I'll do it in the winter. I know it sounds crazy, but I'll do that in the winter because I need that reset. I need that, like,
Right.
it needs to cool down here because everything's too warm. It's making me feel agitated. I feel anxious. I feel
Right.
restless.
Well, it's interesting because I like my house cooler. So, my house is cooler in the winter time because I'm not into, I love the summer. I love the heat of the summer outside where I can go out into it. But, I like a cool house all year round.
We tend to like it around 68 to 72, but it is interesting to me, very interesting to me, that if you're in your house, most people, if they're in their house in the summer and the thermostat, the air conditioner's at 72, people won't leave it there. They'll turn it down to 68 because you want it to feel cooler on your skin and when it's hot out. Now, the opposite seems to be true in the summer or in the winter. In the winter, it seems like the people don't keep it at 68. They bump it up to 72. So it's a little bit warmer. So, I mean, yeah, that 70 is the equilibrium mark. It tends to be where people are most comfortable. But
Right.
you tend to want it warmer when it's cold and you want it colder when it's warm.
Right. Right. 53 degrees, let's say, or 55 degrees feels different in the spring than it does in the fall.
Yep, you get used to it. You get more accustomed to it. So in the spring, it feels warm to you. In the fall, you'd be like, "Oh my God, give me my hoodie."
Right, right. It's so fascinating how, and it's all intertwined. It's all intertwined. And when you and I were talking about the reverse seasonal affective disorder, I asked you if it was an actual diagnosis because I had never heard of it, and you said yes, it actually
100%.
is. So, what are some things with reversed? I mean, I know we talked a little bit, but
Yeah.
just like just some bullet points of people that they're experiencing that maybe they have the reverse of what we commonly know as seasonal affective disorder.
The agitations is pretty evident. People that are suffering from seasonal depressive disorder aren't really agitated. They're more hopeless, depressed, sad. Like people that are going the opposite way, they become more agitated, more irritable, more frustrated. That's a big change. So you tend to lose weight in the summer and gain weight in the winter. That's a big one. So people that are maybe losing weight in the winter, which is, it's less common, but it does happen as you start to transition in. That's another big one. And another real interesting is they've actually done studies into this apparently, and antidepressants seem to work for both because they play with serotonin levels, so that seems to be effective in both manners. But therapy seems to be one of the more effective methods for reverse seasonal affective disorder. It works again for both, but it seems to be more effective for people that have reverse. Again, somebody that with reverse is probably less likely to seek therapy anyway. So, because you don't really understand why you're feeling this way, why is
Right.
it more, why is it more difficult for you to accept the fact that it's gonna get warmer? Like a lot of people, I think, don't really, they maybe, for, like me, for example, I just thought I'm just one of those people that likes it cold. No, there's more of a psych component to that
Right.
people realize.
Right, right. My guest last week, Jeanette Michaels, we had come to the conclusion that everyone should see a therapist because it's a different vantage point than how we see ourselves every day, or even how those who see us every day see us. And that's a great, that's a great way maybe to find out that you have this. Like, how would you get diagnosed with it? Like, you have those symptoms, you go to the doctor. I mean, is the doctor going to say, "Oh, you have," because I
Probably
mean,
not.
I never heard of it before.
Probably not. It's gonna probably be a therapist.
So you have to really be your own advocate.
Yeah, I would definitely have to say a therapist because doctors probably have no idea, or maybe they've heard. Maybe it was something that was mentioned in, during their residency, but it was probably not something that they focused a whole lot of attention to.
Right.
A big one too, and I brought it up. I'll bring it back up again though. Is definitely sleep. I mean, you got to figure people get a lot of sleep. In the winter, it tends to be a lot easier to sleep in the winter. You have a lot more time available to sleep, and you don't have that available to you as the days get longer, the nights get shorter. No one thinks about it that way.
Right.
Yes, the day gets longer. That's great, especially if you're that type of person that you're not dysregulated. But if you're the type of person that needs 12 hours a night to sleep, well, now you only have 9 of those 12 are going to be dark. So you'll probably be more likely to suffer from insomnia because you're not able to get that restful sleep that you were used to getting as the days begin to shorten.
Wow. Wow. Now, and you said that, one of that antidepressants
Yep.
work for both. So if you have seasonal affective or reverse seasonal affective disorder, and you're taking an antidepressant for that, for the serotonin regulation, what happens the rest of the year? I mean, most antidepressants are not things that you could just like start and stop, like the same day.
Right.
Um,
Well,
so
certain ones are maybe like for example, trazodone. That's a good example. I know people that only take it during only take it during the summer because during the winter they don't have any issue sleeping. So
right,
like
right. Okay.
somebody
Oh,
with
for
seasonal
sleeping.
affective
Right.
disorder, yeah, wouldn't be taking. That's not necessarily an every night, every day a week antidepressant anyway.
Right,
Most people
right.
take it for the side effect that it makes you tired, but it's still an antidepressant.
True,
That
true.
you're right. I mean, it's not something people start and stop necessarily, but I mean, a lot of people probably should be on antidepressants that really aren't. We
Well,
tend to we tend to
but
stop taking them when we feel better, and
right.
that's kind of that's kind of one of the issues. So like, if you have an issue regulating your serotonin to begin with, and then it's probably something you should stick with.
Right, right. And again, another key takeaway is just proper nutrition and supplements. That vitamin D, vitamin B is great, for energy. I love my vitamin B, and I say shot. I don't mean shot, like I mean like shot in the syringe in the morning. It's great, for energy, or other natural things like with
Think
my.
how bad we eat in certain
Oh,
times of the year.
absolutely.
Like the holidays, we don't eat well. We eat well, but we don't eat healthy.
We eat a lot, we just don't eat
Right.
healthy. Yes, I mean, all the cookies and all the, the sugar and the flour and the white flour and all that stuff that's not that great for you.
Another thing that's environmental, but we make that part of our diet and part of like psychologically, like people even hundreds of years ago, people knew that in the fall they were going to have their festivals, they were going to have their feasts, they were going to have Thanksgiving, they were going to, because that's the end of the growing season. That's the end of being able to eat the healthy, nutritious stuff. If you're living in today's society, you can't grow. I mean, you can. It's hard to grow crops. It's hard to grow like vegetables and fruit unless you own a greenhouse or land, or you grow them in your own home. But it's the price of vegetables goes up extremely high in the winter, so you're dealing with a lack of nutrition. Another
Right.
another like the nutritional component you said is it's perfectly suited for something like SAD, because your diet and your nutritional concerns, your nutritional status is going to change throughout the year, and it doesn't always suit you. So eating a whole bunch of food as you begin to enter into fall, or as you enter into winter, and you say you have reverse SAD, well, now you're going to gain all this weight that you're going to have to deal with once you come out of it. And that's going to cause you even more anxiety because you've gained all this weight. Now you have no choice. Now you have to go out. Now I have
Right.
to put on a swimsuit. I have to
Right.
take my shirt off. Like,
Right. Right. Wow. Boy, we could probably talk for hours on this topic.
sure.
So it's nutrition, it's supplements, it's sunlight. If not, like I do know people that have the light. Yes.
Yep.
That have the light that they use. And I know this is not healthy, but I did it back in the day more for my back than anything in the winter time, is that I used to go to the tanning salon, because that heat on my back, because I have a very bad back,
Yep.
that heat felt so good in the wintertime when I wasn't getting that natural
That
heat on
UV
my
light.
back.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, I wouldn't promote that as much, but I mean, getting that heat, taking a beach vacation. Oh, that would be me.
Right.
As we wrap up, I really do hope that people, I replay this. You post it, I will post it again. This is so much great information. What a great show tonight. Is there anything you would like to end with as we wrap up.
Sure. It's not all in your head. If you feel yourself feeling, less comfortable when the seasons change, there's a reason for that. It's not 100% natural. Not everyone goes through that. The majority of the population doesn't. So, you should definitely consider this as part of your mental health, whether that's visit a therapist, whether that's talk to a doctor, whether that's, change your lifestyle a little bit, get out and get some exercise, take some vitamin D, expose yourself to some of those light sources so you feel better about yourself year round, not just whenever it's your ideal season.
Right. Wonderful. As always, Scott Reese. We're going to have to put doctor in front of your name. You got to go finish that, go get that degree.
Yeah, one day maybe.
Well, it's a pleasure as always, Scott. Thank you so much. Yes, I don't do that very well. I'm not very good at it.
I like the whole hand. Some people just do I like the whole hand.
I'm like, I'll work on it. Thank you again. It's always a pleasure. Have a wonderful snowstorm.
Here's hoping. I'm going to be doing that soon. So,
all right. Well, we will have you back on the show again sometime soon. As always, I appreciate you. You have a wonderful, wonderful holiday.
Thanks, Hope.
All right. Bye-bye.
See ya.
Oh, we're wrapping up here. Mental Health Mondays with Hope. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again next Monday. And hey, you know what? Have a dance party in the living room. It's good for your serotonin. Have a great night.